So you all have heard that Franklin Tomorrow, we go on a Vision City trip, and we've been to many places, but last winter, November, we visited Huntsville, Alabama. And a lot of people, when I said that we were going to Huntsville, Alabama, went, "What? Huntsville? What's that got going on?" Well, Huntsville has a lot going on in terms of development and community projects and job growth, housing growth. But a lot of that started many years ago as the business community came together. And during our trip to Huntsville, we heard from John Allen, who is the CEO of the Committee of 100 in Huntsville. And John and I don't even remember how I found you.
I don't know. I just received a phone call one day. I'm Mindy. And we talked for 2 hours.
Yeah, we did. We talked for 2 hours. Because what we do, Franklin Tomorrow, is a community engagement and visioning organization, is in some ways what John and the Committee of 100 do, but we have some differences as well, but we feel like we're in peer organizations, and just as I feel like sometimes Christy and I are at Seaside Institute, we're a peer organization in some ways. So I have invited John because we're about, we've said this a number of times, whether it's Deru or another speaker saying, we're about building communities. We don't want to build neighborhoods or developments. We want to build communities, and communities come together. So how old is the Committee of 100, and what is it?
Yeah, so good afternoon. It's great to see everybody. Thank you for having me at this conference, Mindy. I'm so grateful for Franklin Tomorrow and all the work that you all have done over the years. And it's really great for me to have a peer organization as well to bounce ideas off of, and also just know that another organization out there that is doing that long-term visioning, long-term thinking, where your mind is really in 5 and 10 years out, what is our community really going to be? So our organization is 29 years old. We'll be celebrating our 30-year anniversary next year.
Wow, that's great. And how did, Committee of 100, it sounds like I don't know how to describe that. So tell us what the Committee of 100 is.
So I've got a few slides here that I think I'll run through. If you don't mind, I'll stand up if you don't mind. So we, again, just to kind of centralize everybody on the conversation of Huntsville, and the title of the conference is, again, how history impacts the future. So the history of Huntsville really has impacted from our history. Huntsville, as you can see here, is around 225 square miles, somewhere around the 16th largest in the country with the amount of square miles we have in the municipality. So it's very broad. And our westward expansion through the city of Madison there on the south side of Huntsville is Redstone Arsenal, which is our federal installation. 30,000 people commute in and out of the arsenal every day to support the defense industry. But now Huntsville even is in 3 different counties, expands and touches our sister cities over in Athens and Decatur. So the history of Huntsville is very broad. Started in the 50s. We transitioned from a munitions making facility to the rocket team, and Von Braun came into town, the Saturn V program to the space shuttle. So now we're certainly involved in hypersonic missiles, artificial intelligence, and with the landing of the Mazda Toyota plant a few years ago, now we're in advanced manufacturing and car manufacturing. So we've really been diligent about diversifying our industrial base over the last 10 years as well. But to get to your point on who we are as an organization, we are a 501c6. We're a membership-only organization. We were founded in 1995. And a lot of our founders, we have 8 founders, and many of them, we have 4 that are still with us today. And many of those gentlemen I knew from my life growing up in Huntsville. And I envisioned them sitting around the table back in 1995 saying, we have got to have a third-party organization that can help our elected leaders, help our appointed leaders in office, really set some bold visions for the future. We need a third-party organization that can really have their eye on the ball of where we want to be in 5, 10, 15, and 20 years, and every day wake up talking about where are we going to be and how are we going to get there. So 29 years ago, they said, we need that third-party organization, and we're going to call it the Committee of 100. I think at the time, they probably really meant it to be 100 members, We are C-suite, CEO level members in the organization, and now we're 341 members, including 56 young professionals, 22 to 40 years old. So we've grown considerably since we started from that original vision. But 29 years ago, they said we need to work in three main areas. Number one is high-quality public education. We have about 55,000 students in Huntsville-Madison County, and so we support very visionary ideas and engagement in public education and always will. The second is long-term economic development. So for us, that really means where and how are we going to help our community vision in the future, very similar to what Franklin Tomorrow does. What does that look like in 5, 10, and 15 years? Where does the community want to be? And so, as an example, 25 years ago, we were really looking toward Chattanooga as a community. Their downtown was thriving. They had the aquarium was built, and we were all going up there spending money. And so we started asking ourselves through our organization, our leaders, well, why can't we look like that? What do we need to be to look like that? So we finally got the right people on the bus, going up there, talking to the leaders, and then our downtown continues to flourish and really flourished from there. But the last bullet here, really, we are an intentional conversation starter. We're that pebble in the shoe. We work with our elected leaders. We don't answer to our elected leaders. We work with our other nonprofits in town, but we really address these long-term, long-visioning ideas for our community, for community success. And we really look holistically at the entire community, not just one or the other in the work that we do. So that is really kind of who we are. And how we go about doing that is through kind of different brands that we've developed over the years of community impact and these different legs into these different pillars that we operate in. And some of these you can see here in particular. So part of how we do that, we have a Creative Cities Fund, which is our philanthropic arm of the Committee of 100 that we created about 10 years ago. And through the Creative Cities Fund, it's really meant to drive innovation in economic development and education. So we have visioning conferences, we have visioning lunches, we have the ability to draw the business community in together to really start thinking more about that long term. What are some long-term impacts that we can have? And a couple in particular that I want to bring to your attention that I think is really indicative of the work that we try to do from a long-term perspective. The Raise Your Hand initiative you see down here is our initiative to have the highest concentration of National Board Certified teachers in our Huntsville-Madison County area. Raleigh-Durham is at 26%. Our goal is to have 27%. But that all started, this program started 5 years ago when one of our superintendents sat across the breakfast table from me and said, you all ought to support 100 National Board Certified teachers in Huntsville City Schools. And I looked over the table and I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm ignorant. I'm clueless. And that started this idea of what can we do and how can we really impact public education? And that's by putting a quality certified teacher in that classroom to raise the educational attainment and achievement. We started learning that over 3 months gained in the classroom with National Board Certified teachers, the ability for them to really teach to the student, not the class. It's a fascinating impact of public education. We're in our 5th year. We had set a goal of $1 million to raise for National Board Certified teachers to get that density. We're at almost 800,000 now, so we're making a difference in that very long-term work. And you know, in a very microwave society like we're in today, it takes organizations like Franklin Tomorrow and others that really have their eye on the long-term ball to make a difference and stay committed to that vision. The other one that we're really proud about is our Launch, Tennessee Valley Regional Partnership. And Launch really is that entity bringing the Tennessee Valley region together. One of our sister organizations is Thrive Regional Partnership out of Chattanooga that we've become really good friends with in really bringing the region together collaboratively in that spirit of cooperation, which is so important to get anything accomplished. And I will certainly applaud Franklin, your mayor, your city leaders, county commission and others. It's clear to see the level of collaboration and cooperation you have within this community because of the amazing projects that certainly I've seen today. And you see that level of collaboration between the business community, your elected and appointed leadership that really makes a community quality of life and really makes the community thrive with that long-term vision that's persistent and make sure that you're really looking forward down the road. So applaud you for that. Launch is really bringing together the 8 counties in the Tennessee Valley together. We have a volunteer business leadership. It is a 501c3. And we're hopeful that in the next year, we'll actually be spinning that off to be a separate entity, standing up with their own executive leadership, paid leadership, to work in those areas of regional collaboration to make sure that our entire region is singing off of the same sheet of music when we talk about infrastructure, transportation needs, and others, as we have a joint North Alabama voice to go down to our state capital in Montgomery and have those conversations. Singing River Trail is a project that was launched out of Launch. It's from our land use planning group that was part of Launch. And really, Singing River Trail is now a 220-mile plus bike, hike, walk trail that's connecting all of North Alabama together. Very exciting project. In fact, we're in the first stages of our interviews for a second executive director for Singing River Trail. We're actually interviewing that this Friday. So we're eager to find the next person to carry that forward. So these are very long-term projects that I think have great impact, but it's very indicative of our work over the last 29 years. We see an opportunity, we plant a seed, we water it with some influence, we water it with a little bit of seed money to make sure to see if this thing can grow. And if the community buys into it and believes in it, then we put our weight behind that and continue to move that forward for the betterment of the community at large. Talked a little bit earlier, the last session, about attainable housing, workforce housing. Last year, we started that conversation within our community. We were hopeful. We had applied for a Choice Neighborhood Initiative grant for our Mill Creek development, $350 million mixed rate, mixed income development, right out of our downtown core. And we were very hopeful for that. This summer, we got awarded that grant. $50 million grant of that $350 million project. So we're really excited to see that start to address the topic of attainable housing within our community in particular. And we're also in a couple weeks going to have a conversation around additional ways to house people. So if you want to have another conversation, we'd love to see you in a couple weeks down at our Creative Cities event. So that kind of leads me to another way to look at quality of life within your community, and another way to make sure that you have long-term, stable, cooperative, and collaborative leadership, both at the elected and appointed levels. So the other two legs of our mission really in that cooperative education or long-term economic development space and high-quality public education, this is really in the cooperative local government space. For us in our community, really 2008 has been a pivotal change to some degree with the amount of forward-leaning leadership that we've had with our mayor. Tommy Battle just was reelected to his fifth term. So he ran, as probably could get an amen in the crowd from our elected leaders, he ran unopposed, which is the only way to run. But in his fifth term, Tommy Battle in the last 16 years really has been that visionary, business-oriented leader that has really changed the makeup of what Huntsville has looked like. And all of that planning that happened from our former planning director, Dallas Fanning, over the last, really from the 70s forward, has really placed that history into where we are today, which is really affecting our future. Tommy was elected in 2008. 2008 was when City of Huntsville and the community lost the VW plant. Hat tip to our friends in Chattanooga. We learned from our mistakes. We won the MTM plant here a few years ago, which is, again, diversifying our economic development base within our community. As Tommy came in, we really saw the mayor bring in additional leaders within the community, planning directors, urban directors, and others that have really transformed the conversation within the business community, the development community, and really paved the way for making things forward-leaning and visionary in business practices and how you engage with the community, how really collaboration looks like on a day-to-day basis. Doesn't mean that our neighboring cities don't have their traditional food fights. I believe somebody said it earlier. When you have family at the table, you're always going to have some disagreements when it comes to Thanksgiving time. But we have a very collaborative spirit within all of our elected officials. We work together, we have a common voice, and our organization really works towards making sure that we set the table of collaboration for others to come around that and bring our elected leaders along in that space of cooperative government. So very, very important. So our mission, we have a BizPAC, which is a political action committee. We're nonpartisan. We don't really care what flavor you are. We just want visionary business leaders in office. We want those that understand risk and reward and strategic planning, long-term visioning, collaboration, cooperation. Those that understand, we have a facility very similar to this facility in Huntsville called Stove House, where the Martin Stove Company actually built stoves. And I use it a lot of time as an example where if you have a very creative and visionary idea like this, you want to bring it to elected city leadership and say, what do you think about turning the stove plant into something like this? And you want the answer to be, well, let's take a look at it. Let's think about how we can do that versus a hard no. And so that collaborative, cooperative, visionary business experience is very important. We engage in 32 races locally, so our local mayors, elected leaders in the city councils, county commissions, school boards are all of those areas where we do engage, which we believe is part of that quality of life. When you think about visionary, collaborative leaders in that space, both elected and appointed, we believe that's part of the quality of life and the fabric of life that makes your community a better place and makes your community vibrant and a place that's really going to continue to look visionary forward. The last piece to talk about a little bit is our Governance Institute. We are great believers in good governance, be that at the local level, nonprofit level, to the elected positions as well. So what does that really mean? It's open to the public. We do 4 different training sessions. We talk about boardsmanship, how to serve on boards and committees, very important. Our nonprofit organizations across Franklin, I am sure and know that they impact the quality of life in this community. They do, and certainly in our community as well. We do boardsmanship training. We do a political training institute, which is, again, nonpartisan. We teach people what it's like to run for office. It's a 4-session course. We teach people how to serve in office, how to run for office, how to sign up to run for office. We talk about social media, data mining, polling, targeting. We talk about all of those things. The third we talk about is parliamentary training, Robert's Rules of Order, which is one of my favorites. Hopefully all of you are parliamentary trained, I'm sure. Start on time, end on time, know how to run a meeting, set an agenda. All of those are important parts of having a good governance within your community, good governance within elected and appointed positions. And finally, we started teaching actually school board training because we saw a real disconnect between individuals that wanted to serve on school boards, understanding what the roles of a school board member really were and really are not, certainly in the construct of Alabama school boards. And then finally, we believe in it so much that we're actually participating with the Alabama League of Municipalities to create a statewide certified board training program to make sure that we have the right people trained for the right boards with the right skill sets to provide good governance on those appointed boards and committees. So I'm going to go through this real quick so Mindy and I can have a conversation as well in these next few slides. But again, why do we care about good governance? When you look at the map and how close we are, so goes the city of Huntsville leadership, so goes the rest of the region. As Mazda Toyota has impacted the workforce, they're being drawn from across the Tennessee Valley, from southern Tennessee, to impact our community and our way of life. And so Huntsville really is the center of the economic engine. And so we've got to keep that healthy and strong. And so for us, we really believe in good governance within our community, not just now, but also in the future to come. So I just point out some of these just comments on these slides. These are our elected officials in our community. Many of them have tenure. We have 5 council people. Majority is 3 out of the 5. We believe in the next 4 years we're going to have significant change in that. And I always caveat this comment about Mayor Battle because many of you probably know Mayor Battle. At some point, Mayor Battle, again in 2028, he'll be 20 years in office. At some point, our fantastic mayor may not be mayor again. Might be 28, might be 20 to 32. But as we look forward, we're already looking into 2032 and 2036. What does that look like downstream for us as these change? School board in Huntsville is elected 4-year terms. In the county, we have six county commissioners. We have a county chairman. We believe all of these elected officials will be serving again. They're on the ballot here in a few weeks. And 3 of them have already said they're not running again, including the county commission chair in the next 4 years. So we have some change that's coming in our community. County schools, they're elected. Fascinating point about our county school board members. These 5, they actually serve 6-year terms. So you think about picking the right person to serve on a school board, they're going to welcome your child to kindergarten and hand them a diploma at the end of their 2nd term, which is fascinating to think about. So change coming there. And then finally in the city of Madison, which is a city that has really grown exponentially since 1990. This community started in 1990, was around 14,000. Now there are about 60,000 people condensed into about 25 square miles. of the city of Madison. All 8 of their elected officials are on the ballot next year. So 4 have said they're not running again in the city council, which they appoint their school board. And the school system in the city of Madison is really a private education for public dollars. It's fascinating. They had 38 national merit semifinalists from 2 high schools out of this one community. So fascinating to think about. So just a real quick summary of kind of what we do and why we do it. We believe in community impact. We believe in long-term visioning, not only in just community impact where we have things like Launch, our Tennessee Valley Regional Partnership, the Raise Your Hand initiative impacting schools, to our Creative Cities Fund, which is really trying to help our community vision long-term with innovative and creative ideas in economic development and education, which is incredibly important. But in the political side, we believe that it's vitally important to keep that vibrancy in your community, to make sure that you have collaborative and cooperative leaders, that the business community really has to plug into that elected space and appointed space. And so for us, we're looking at those top-tier boards that are appointed to make sure that we have the right people that are serving on these boards, planning commissions, zoning commissions, sewer board, water boards, airport authority boards, and others that really make those policy interpretation decisions in particular. We're really engaging in creating a pipeline of candidates that are trained to help continue that incredible collaboration and cooperation we believe we have in the city of Huntsville and our Huntsville-Madison County region. And so, again, at the bottom, I just posed the question, how can you have a thriving community if you don't have really visionary, business-oriented people that understand what the business community is trying to do and accomplish? And certainly you've done that here in Franklin, and it's incredibly evident to me in the last few days, and of course of the many years that I've been coming here to Franklin as well, so I applaud you for that. So in summary, that's really the question that we try to ask ourselves, that we're kind of planning forward. How do we continue that collaboration, cooperation, and visioning? And so we have some strategic ideas around what we're working on the next 4 years to accomplish that. So, Mindy.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, John, for explaining that to us. So I've heard you talk a couple times, or we've talked about this. So you're a 501c6 membership.
Right.
How does one become a member of the Committee of 100, and what happens if they don't get in?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a great question. So we do have a membership process, and we really, in our bylaws, we have a conversation around we want C-suite level members of influence in the community, business leaders, folks that have the ability to have relationships and sway issues, to have conversations with elected leaders that have a network of influence and political influence as well. So part of that goes into the decision of membership. And not everybody is asked to be a member. We have a complete membership process and committee that goes through that. And again, we're 341 members. We actually crossed the 100-member mark in May of 2002. So it's been a while since we've been just 100 members.
And you said it was a dues-driven organization. How does that work as well?
Yeah, we're solely dues-driven. A lot of organizations, they might have higher dues structures for bigger organizations or larger businesses, but everybody really pays the same rate, which is really, I think, very important for us because we really address issues that are impact the entire community, maybe not just one sector of the business community. So if you have billion-dollar entity, they're paying the same rate as a single owner operator, of which I came from a single, a small business construction background. And so for me, having that same voice at the table is very important because that mix of business is what makes a community thrive.
And obviously, Huntsville has a very successful economic development outlook and economic development. You have a chamber, you have other organizations like a Realtors Association and other groups. How do you meld those into or work collaboratively with the Committee of 100?
We try to, our motto, I think I've got this, maybe the last one, yeah. Our motto is vision, collaboration, and results, which I love. Franklin Tomorrow is very similar. We will have conversations with anyone. We'll have conversations with any entity or anybody. Again, I mentioned earlier, we try to set a table of collaboration. You're welcome around it. We're going to have open conversation and dialogue. And so for us, we try to really, our first, knee jerk is how can we collaborate on something? if it's a person, an entity, a business entity, nonprofit, we really default to that collaborative spirit in what we do. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a vision, you really can't collaborate around anything. And if it's not driving results, then why are you working on it? So that's really how we try to work with all in our community.
So we saw the 3 priorities, and I guess how do you move those forward and find agreement? So I know the answer, you have a board, but it goes forward from there, right?
It does, yes. So we again, 90% of my day, which I'm grateful for, and I'm a hometown native, and I'm grateful for that perspective because you understand where we came from and how we got to where we're at. So you can kind of see a path forward of how we're going to get there. And sometimes it's having the right people in the right places to be able to accomplish a few things. We're working on a pretty large idea around workforce participation that we've been working on for 3 years, and we just haven't launched it yet because it's just not the right time to launch this idea into the community. So for us, it's the right time, the right people in place to move some of these big ideas and vision that we're working on forward.
So I think we've all enjoyed having the next generation of Seaside here this week with Micah Davis, the newly appointed president of Seaside Development Corp. Those 56 young members, how do you identify them, and is it shepherding them into a higher role and a higher presence?
Well, I may give this to one of our YPs over here, Whitney, to answer. But we started our Young Professional Program back in 2008, and part of that was we really need that input from others that don't look like me and you and others, especially from an age demographic group, and have that perspective in and around the table. And so we do have a mentoring program that we bring in young professionals, put them with members like you all in this room to create mentorships and networking opportunities there. But we have, and put them into places if they want to lead, we have opportunities for them to lead in a large way. And so we don't have any restrictions around there just because they have youth on their side. We've had many that have led organizations that we had, some on this screen, raise your hand in particular. Our young professionals have really stood forward and stand out really in those leadership roles. So that integrating them in all of the decision making is very important for us.
And I don't know the diversity mix in Huntsville, Madison County, but how do you address diversity in your membership and ensuring that you're hearing from all sectors of your community?
Being very intentional and very deliberate about that conversation in our demographics for our organization. And I think I've been in this role for 7 years. Our former CEO had been in the role for 20 years. And I actually joined as a small business owner in 2002, so I decided to make it permanent when the space became available. But
kind of like me.
Yeah, but we're very intentional about that in reflecting our business community, demographics of our business community, making sure we have the representation around the table. So when we're selecting our board members for service, board terms of 3 years, when we're selecting our leadership, we really make sure that we have those addressed. So even this year, we're in a process of new board members for our BizPAC, and next year we have Madison elections, so we want to make sure we have Madison people that are serving on our BizPAC so they understand all politics is local and the issues of Madison are local, and if we're making those decisions, they need to have more of an impact and input in those decisions.
I want to say thank you. We've shortened John's presentation, but we wanted to provide that to the other communities that are here as an opportunity of looking at how you can build community through vision, collaboration, and create results in the community. So we appreciate you, John, for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
it's been
you
an
so
honor.
much.
Thank you.